I want to show you the most expensive 10 years of your entire life. And the strange part is, they have not happened yet. Picture two people, same job, same paycheck, same exact plan to invest $200 a month until they retire. The only difference is when they press start. One starts at 22, the other starts at 32, 10 years apart. That is it. Your gut probably says the gap between them should be small. 10 years late, maybe you end up a little behind. But that is not what happens. By the time they both retire, the person who waited ends up with $491,000 less. Not a little behind. Almost $500,000 behind. For the same monthly amount. For the exact same effort. That is not a penalty for investing badly. That is the price tag for being late. And in the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly where that number comes from and how to make sure you never pay it. So where does a number that big actually come from? It comes from one rule that almost nobody explains in time. The first dollars you ever invest are worth far more than the last dollars you ever invest. Not because they are different dollars, because of how much time they get to grow. Money grows by compounding, which just means your money earns money, and then that new money starts earning money too. The longer it runs, the more violently it snowballs. So a dollar you invest at 22 has 43 years to grow before you retire at 65. It gets to double and double again and again, cycle after cycle. A dollar you invest at 32 only gets 33 years, 10 fewer doubling cycles. And here is the part that breaks people's brains. Those 10 missing cycles are not the small ones at the beginning. They are the giant ones at the end, where the snowball is already enormous, and every doubling adds a fortune. When you start late, you are not shaving a few quiet years off the front of the curve. You are slicing the explosive years clean off the back. The early start is the entire advantage. We call it the runway. The longer the runway, the higher the thing flies. Start late, and the plane simply runs out of room. Here is why this lands on you specifically, harder than almost anyone admits. When you are young, investing feels like it is doing nothing. You put in $100, you check the balance a few months later, and it has barely moved. The growth is slow and boring and easy to dismiss. So the most natural thing in the world is to think, I will start later, when I earn more, when it actually matters. That feeling is the trap, because the boring early years are not the worthless part. They are the foundation the explosive part is built on. And every single year you wait, you have less time, which means less compounding, which means dramatically less money at the end. The cost of delay does not stay flat. It grows. Waiting from 22 to 23 costs you something. Waiting from 22 to 32 costs you a fortune, because you sacrifice the 10 most powerful years you will ever have. Nobody hands you a bill for this. There is no late fee, no alert on your phone. The cost is completely invisible, right up until the moment it is enormous and permanent. The clock is already running whether you have started or not. And every birthday quietly raises the price of starting. Let me make this real. Same income, same returns, one difference, their start date. Meet Sofia and Darius. Sofia starts at 22. She invests $5,000 a year, every year for exactly 10 years. Then, at 32, she stops completely and never adds another dollar for the rest of her life. Total, she put in $50,000. Now Darius waits. He does nothing until 32, the very year Sofia quits. Then he gets serious, and he stays serious. He invests that same $5,000 a year, and he never stops, all the way to 65. Total, he put in $165,000. So predict the winner. Darius invested for 33 years. Sofia invested for 10. Darius put in more than 3 times as much of his own money. Every instinct says Darius wins, and it should not even be close. But assume they both earn the same 8% average return, and watch what happens. At 65, Sofia ends up with about $615,000. Darius ends up with about $504,000. Sofia wins by over $100,000, with less than a third of the money invested. How? Her 10 years went first. They sat at the bottom of the curve and compounded for 43 years. Darius spent his career buying the expensive late years. Sofia quietly bought the cheap early ones. She did not pick better. She did not earn more. She just went first. So here is what this is really telling you, underneath the numbers. Two things have value here, and we only ever talk about one of them. We talk endlessly about the amount. How much you make, how much you can invest, how much is in the account. But the second thing is time, and time is the one quietly doing all the heavy lifting. Sofia did not beat Darius with more money. She beat him with more time. And that flips the most common money advice you have ever heard completely on its head. You have been told some version of earn more first, invest later, get serious once you can really afford it. The math says the opposite. Time beats amount almost every single time. A small amount that starts early will outrun a large amount that starts late, and it is not even a close race. Which means the single most valuable financial asset you own right now is not your salary. It is not some clever stock pick or hot tip. It is the years in front of you. And unlike money, you cannot earn more of them, borrow them, or buy them back later. You are spending them right now, this second, whether you put them to work or not. The most powerful asset you will ever hold is your age, and it only ever gets smaller. So here is the move. One action, this week. Not when you get a raise, not when the debt is gone, not when things finally settle down, because things do not settle down. They just change. This week. If your job offers a 401k with a match, start there, even 1%, because that is free money on top of the time advantage. If not, open a Roth IRA, Fidelity, Schwab, or Vanguard. All three, no minimum to open. About 20 minutes online. Roth just means it grows tax-free and you owe nothing when you pull it out in retirement. For most people under 30, it is the best account you can have. Then fund it with something small, $25, $50, whatever you will not feel. And listen, the exact amount barely matters today. A perfect contribution you start next year loses to an imperfect one you start this week. That is the whole lesson in one sentence. Then do the most important part. Set it to invest automatically, every month, so you never have to decide again. Automation is how the early start actually happens, instead of being something you always meant to get around to. Write down the date you started and keep it somewhere, because in 40 years, the start date is the asset. The compounding only begins the day you do. Remember those two people from the very beginning. Same paycheck, same plan, 10 years apart. $500,000 between them. The 10 years you delay are not boring years you skip at the front. They are explosive years you delete from the end. You cannot go back and start earlier. That option is gone for everyone, always. But here is the one advantage no person and no market can ever take from you. Out of everyone who will ever watch this, you are the youngest you will ever be right now, this second. That is the entire edge. Sofia did not have a secret. She just refused to wait. So do not file this away for later. Later is exactly what this whole thing is warning you about. Go start the clock. Today is the cheapest it will ever be.